everyone. I think you all would agree with me if I said that if one good thing Shark Tank India did after coming into India was the fact that it taught people so much about entrepreneurship. Today at Icy Tales, we have yet another person who's here to tell us his insights about entrepreneurship and his journey as a whole. So as you can see, I'm in conversation with Udit, who's an entrepreneur and a founder of his own venture called Pitch Ground. So welcome, sir. How are you doing? How was your day?
Thank you so much, Hiba, for inviting me. It's an absolute honor and pleasure.
Yes. So with this being said, I think we should get started because I really want to see where this goes. So can we get started?
Sure, definitely.
Yes. So my first question is just about your journey. Tell us about how you started your journey and your major takeaways from the same.
So my journey started back when I was 16. It was the BSNL days of 256 kps internet connection. Got started with that, and it was gaming that really intrigued me and got me onto internet. And from there, gaming really excited me to learn more about designs. And design led to me being more curious about how development is done, to that being my first project, to that being everything from there. So it has been just that curious journey of mine where I have just been curious about certain thing, and that curiosity has always turned into my passion. So I have always believed that one should chase their curiosity and not their passion, because unless and until you're aware of something that really exists in the world, you would not really know that your passion really exists. So my journey started from there to a point where I am today, is because of that curiosity of mine.
I really like how you said one should chase their curiosities. So that's definitely going to be my headline for the report that I'm going to write after this. So thank you so much for that. Moving on to my next question. Tell us about your venture Pitch Ground.
So Pitchground started after my previous venture failed very miserably. I lost around $200,000, and I was in very heavy depression for almost 9 months of my life. And while I wanted to move on, I couldn't move on because there's always this fear and pressure after you have failed on something, that you don't know whether you can actually do it. You have it in you. Even though I had two successful exits in the previous past prior to this failure, but the biggest challenge why I was not able to get a closure to myself was because I was asking wrong questions to myself. I was asking myself what happened instead of asking why it happened. And the moment I started researching about why my startup failed, why it happened, I landed on this video by Simon Sinek. It was a great TED talk that ended me making buy his book. And when I read about what's your why, I understood the most powerful word in the world, which is why. And the funny thing about why is that you have all the answers in your mind. It's sitting in your subconscious mind. You have all the answers to most of the questions, but unless until you have that conversation with yourself, you would not get the answers out of for those questions. And when I started researching my why, I landed on this article by Lighter Capital, which is one of the biggest debt fund we see for SaaS companies in the US, that said 92% of the SaaS companies fail within the first 3 years.
Oh.
And my first reaction was, this is me. This is me. I could relate to everything that was being said, that I am in that 92%. And that made me become more curious about what can I do to be in that 8%. So I started researching more about it. I started talking to more founders. I started speaking with a lot of them on calls just to understand why they went into 92%. And then on the basis of all of those statistics, I ended up building PitchGround. So PitchGround is basically a SaaS marketplace, kind of like Amazon for software, where early stage SaaS companies can meet small businesses or early adopters. So a very simplistic answer to this is, small businesses, they cannot afford to buy expensive software that are $10,000 or $20,000 a year. They just cannot.
Yes.
And if you ask them to buy, they would end up using their notepad. They would end up using their Microsoft Excel sheet, right? But then the world is beyond Microsoft Excel sheet today. So, and then at the same time, early stage SaaS companies, their challenge was not with regards to making money during the initial stage. Their challenge is to make the users adopt their softwares, because if you use something, you keep talking about it as a user, especially on the internet. And that's when the idea of marketplace sparked, where I could connect both the dots. Because when it comes to marketplaces, you also have to sell, but you also have to get the buyers and as well as the sellers. So you have to create the demand at the same time. And that's when Pidgeon was born. And that's what Pidgeon is all about, where small businesses can get affordable softwares, while early stage SaaS companies can acquire these early stage and small businesses for their for their SaaS business.
First of all, congratulations on getting this venture to get successful. A great job on that. And secondly, I'm sure you would have faced so many challenges, getting that on board as well as in daily life. So how do you overcome those challenges?
I think one just needs to get going. You know, you'll have more bad days than good days in your entrepreneurship journey. You need to cherish every single of those good days. So you will probably have 3 good days in a month, and
Yes.
27 bad days when you're running any startup. But that 3 day is going to overpower and overshadow your 27 bad days. So you just have to make sure that you wait for that 3 days and just keep working on things, because you never know that the day you stop, the next day could be that day for you.
Yes.
So it's very important to understand that you get going. But at the same time, it's also important to understand that if you take things on and if you think you are still clueless and you don't know where it's going, you also need to understand when to stop,
Yes.
right? Because if I would have probably stopped a little early in my journey for when my last venture failed, I could have probably saved myself at least 100K, but I did not. So it's very important to understand. And more importantly, I would say that today the world is really connected with internet. So you have access to people, which was not there just about 5 to 7 years ago, at least in India. But today it's very easy to reach out to people on Instagram or on LinkedIn or over email. It's very easy to reach out to people and just ask them genuine question that I am in this position and what do I do? And trust me, good entrepreneurs and people who care, they will always respond. So just get going and also understand what decisions that you need to take. But more importantly, also when you are starting off, go a little slow, because the slower you go, the better are your chances of winning the journey, because you will make less mistakes, and each mistake will help you to optimize your business, because then businesses are all about optimization at every level.
I'm sure all the budding entrepreneurs who are listening to this will have a lot of takeaways. So, great job on that. Moving on to my next question. What future do you think that today's generation entrepreneurs have?
I think one of the things that I would recommend to all of the upcoming budding entrepreneurs, or especially in their early 20s and not late
Mhm.
20s, is I have a very clear philosophy that don't start entrepreneurship too early, because there are two major challenges. First is money, second is experience. But also there is one third one, which is lack of distribution. So my recommendation would be that life is too short to be making mistakes on your own money. And when you do a job, you make mistakes on other people's money. So your early 20s should be about making mistake on other people's money. That means just go out there, and in your early 20s, which is your 20 to 23, get a job in a bootstrap startup, because you learn how to optimize.
Yes.
From your 23 to 25, join a funded startup. You will learn how to grow. From your 25 to 28 or 29, join a corporate, because you will learn how to manage funds, how to build connections, and how to close enterprises. And your 29-30 should be the ideal age for you to go out there and then start your venture. Because when you do this and when you really thrive for that 10 years, you are ensuring that the mistakes that you will make in your journey would be so unique that you would not be making those early stage mistakes that you otherwise would. Plus, more than that, you would have money in the bank because you would have joined corporate as well. You would have money in the bank. So you can do a seed capital for your own venture, and you don't have to go out there and raise capital, which is also very important to understand, because as an entrepreneur, the most valuable asset you have in your life is your equity.
Yes.
And today I've seen people just like throwing away their equity as if like, it's a piece of bread and it's a leftover bread and people just throw it away. And people only start realizing it when they realize they actually have a chance of making it big, right? But now they have zero control over their business, over their venture. So that's what I would recommend to everyone, every budding entrepreneur, especially who are in their early 20s. If you're listening this, I think this is what I wish I could have done. I can't, because of the fact that there weren't that many startups, interesting startups that are coming up right now. So take advantage of this. It's a beautiful time to be in India. It's a beautiful time to get into the ecosystem, learn, grow, and build something incredible down the road.
I like how your thoughts are, very thoughtfully said, the step-by-step thing which you said. I think it was one of the best parts of this entire conversation, which I really liked. Moving on to my next question. When I was researching about you and, trying to frame the questions, I noticed that you did a talk on Josh Talks once. So tell us about that experience and, how you overcame all those struggles and challenges.
I think it was an incredible experience. Uh, got a call one of these days. They asked me if I could join in and share my entire story. And I was like, I think it's one of the greatest platform out there today in India to just go out there and share your journey. Yeah, I think when it comes to like I said, the struggle, you just have to get going as an entrepreneur. You have to wake up. I am a firm believer that an entrepreneur or a founder is a joker of a circus, right? No matter what kind of a bad day you have,
Mhm.
you need to just get going. You need to put up a smile on your face, regardless of the fights, regardless of the challenges, regardless of whatever is happening in your life. You just got to put up a smile, get up, and work. That's all. Just like how Joker runs the circus. Without Joker, there is no circus. Similarly, without entrepreneur, there is no business. So it's very important that you think that way and act that way, because while you could be having challenges, but if you fall down, your whole company would fall down.
Yes.
So just put up a smile and get going every single day.
I'm sure this would have brought so many changes in your life. So, what are the changes that becoming an entrepreneur brought in you?
So being a Marwadi, I come from an entrepreneur background, right? Everyone in my family is running a business, be it on my mom's side or my dad's side. Everyone is running a business. My dad is running a business. I've seen all my uncles running a business. I'm grown in a business family. So when I was being born and brought up, I was just naturally being taught entrepreneurship. No one sat down and told me to do this or do that. It's just that it's an observation. And you know how a doctor's son or daughter always becomes a doctor, or an engineer's daughter and son always becomes an engineer. I think that was the progression, because when we see our parents are always our biggest role model. So when we see them, when we see and when we grow watching them, we want to kind of like tend to become like them and do something what they are doing. So I think that was just a natural progression for me. And I've never done any job in my life, right? I wish I would have done any sort of journey that I said, but back in those days, 15 years ago when I started, there was no such startups out there. So it was very challenging. And the other option was to get those traditional jobs or join my dad's factory, which I wasn't really interested in. So that's why I was like one of the very first person in my family to take like a very unconventional path of internet, because 15 years ago no one believed on internet. Everyone said that it's a fake way, and how is it possible? No one is gonna do a business online without meeting and all of those things, right? But again, I had seen the US culture, and I've always believed that if you really want to see what the trend is going to come up, just see and observe how US is are developing and the kind of technologies that are developing, because eventually in 10 years it will come to India. Because India is generally 10 to 15 years behind as compared to some of the biggest developed nations. So when I observed that, I was very certain that it's going to happen. Not sure when, but it's going to happen. So I just kept going out there. So again, for me, or as in for me as an entrepreneur, I was never taught entrepreneurship. It was just very natural for me.
I think you just did justice to the point that we need to think outside the box, so that that comes into your lives and then makes plays a very big role. So great job on answering that. And moving on to my last question, which I thought it could be fun, but I couldn't think of anything fun. So tell us some secret, tips and hacks to help people get successful.
So there is I recently posted this tweet that the only growth hack to really grow and be successful is by working more.
Yes, yes,
If you
yes.
want
I,
to
I checked
achieve
that out. Yeah.
something, if you want to achieve something, you just need to work harder. But people often say like work smarter, work smarter. To be very honest with you, the work smarter doesn't really exist in anyone's dictionary. No one has a definition of what exactly do they mean by working smarter. You have to go out there and you have to put in work every single hour. Even today, I put in about 14 hours of work every single day. Sometimes it goes to 16 hours. At times, my business even requires me to work for 20 hours, and I never complain, right? So what is really very important is that you need to get going every single day. You need to be consistent. Again, you cannot have breaks. People again talk about work-life balances, but if you want to become an entrepreneur, there is no work-life balances. Like I don't want to. I want to have a very candid conversation over here and tell the actual fact of what it really takes to push and build a business. Because if you're not going to do that, it's very difficult to grow and sustain because someone else is putting in that 8 hours in a job, right? And if you're going to put the same 8 hours, it's very difficult. Definitely, in the future, your journey is going to be a lot more easier. But at least during the first 5 years, you have to put in all of the hours, put in all of your money back into your business and just grow, because that's the investment. That's the commitment you need to make towards your startup. And if you're not going to do that, it's going to be very difficult for that startup to really grow, because during the first 5 years, your startup is going to grow like this. It's not going to grow like this, right? So you have to make sure that you are able to sustain for that 5 years before you get into that growth process, because your first 5 years is always your build year. It's not your growth year. The next 5 year is where the growth year comes into picture. So that's what I would recommend to everyone. The biggest growth hack is just keep working. There's literally no alternative to hard work.
I think it was a very knowledgeable Tuesday for me because I myself learned so many things from what you said. And it was great to end this interview on a very motivational note because you gave advice. So thank you so much for doing that. And thank you so much for giving your time out of your busy schedule to do this interview with us. I had a great time doing this and I hope you did too.
Thank you so much for the invite. I really appreciate it, and all the best to you guys.